Welcome to Authors Radio, amplifying voices, inspiring the world. I'm your host, Alva Mireles, and I'm absolutely delighted to welcome today's guest, Sukky Agbomeji, the author of the book Uncomfortably Pivot. We're here to celebrate your creativity and explore the world you crafted in this book. Sukky Agbomeji, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the good work you do on Authors Radio.
And to start the podcast, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to write up Uncomfortably Pivot?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, name is Sukky Agbomeji. I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa. I went to medical school, but I think as I began to live in medical school, I discovered I had more passion for the business side of healthcare than the clinical side. And as I finished that as well, I looked at the future business landscape. I saw that data was going to be the most important resource, bigger than oil and gas, bigger than cash. So as I did all that together, the only way I could learn data by myself was to study. So I started a tech startup on data analytics in Africa that helped to sort of watch government spending, and we grew so well, recognized by Forbes as one of the top 5 tech startups in Africa. As I did that journey, I wanted to marry my passion for data analytics and also business side of healthcare. And then, came for my MBA in the US. Worked for a couple of years with the largest private healthcare system before I now work with Aston Young, one of the big four companies where I lead our healthcare M&A analytics team globally. All of that journey has been a 360 turn from being a clinician to leading global strategy M&A. And along the way, I've learned tools on how to comfortably pivot careers, how to manage changes within your careers. And I thought, one, it was important to be able to share those tools. And secondly, with the change in the global business landscape, with the artificial intelligence and tech, I think people will now begin more than ever before need tools and resources they need to make the pivot and the changes in their career, and that's the origin of the book.
Yeah, like change is something we all experience at some point, but not everyone handles it in the same way. And how did your own journey with change lead you to write this book?
Yeah, my journey has been one that I think for me, it was a conscious effort knowing I needed to change. And then the situations around me forced that change as well. So, for one, apart from wanting to change my discipline from being a clinician to doing something very different from being a clinician, I had to leave everything I've known in Nigeria, West Africa, relocate to the US, to Texas, in the old place I know not how to speak or even it's it's whatever the stable is, right? So all of those had been part of my journey that had actually enforced the change. And while what I then coming out of it several years after, what I've seen looking back is to say actually for the true growth we all need as individuals, we need that change. And the earlier we're able to recognize that, being comfortable with the uncomfortable is what will take us to that, next why for our careers or our lives. So being able to really put that out there for people to know that, that's part of the growth that is needed. And these are the tools you can take, you can use to be able to get better at being able to pivot and make those changes are key. So for me, it was more around being conscious and also whatever, my career journey, where it took me, being ready to step into that change and make it better.
Yeah, and the title of your book, it's really like attention grabbing. Like, what does uncomfortably pivot mean to you personally?
Thank you. Yeah, it was done that way because I wanted to make it very shout in your face, even uncomfortable when you look at it. Say, what does this mean? But at the same time, you can see even the acronym UP means that for you to grow up in life and career, you have to uncomfortably pivot. So and there was intention around the naming. I wanted it to be grabbing, and for me, again, it has become my mantra. There's every time I become too comfortable in everything I do, I know there's a problem. I know there's stagnancy. I know I'm not growing, and I know I'm not learning. So for me, I know that to be able to go to the next place, it has to be an uncomfortable journey. So for me, it's my mantra going forward, just being able to take the pain and turn that into, some purpose down the line.
And before we dive into the strategy in your book, how would you describe the biggest challenge people face today when it comes to adapting in this fast-paced world?
That's a great question. I think the biggest challenge they face, I'll say two things. One is just the plethora of options they have, man, and not knowing, okay, even though I know I have to change, what should I change into? There's so many things to do. And then technology in itself, as much as it could be beneficial, it could be a problem. Now, all those things that we take time to do cognitively, like we want to write an email, we try to think around it. Just type it or even ask ChatGPT, and it shoots that out for you. So you are losing that cognitive, stress of creating things originally by yourself, and that then begins to give you that little laxity to want to not get ready to be in that uncomfortable position because you have the tools and technology to do it easier. So you're not building that cognitive muscle, right? So I think those two things are really critical in today's world where there's so much out there that we don't know what to choose from, right? And then with so much being out there, there's so much technology that can make our work easier. And then that way we're losing some cognitive abilities that we would have gained from the pain and the stress of trying to create something afresh.
Yeah, and can you explain what that means to you and why discomfort is essential for growth?
Yeah. So maybe the way I will start it, right? If you look at and if people look personally and look at their journey and look at where their strengths lie, I bet you 90% of time it will be from a place of discomfort. It will be from some a journey they've gone through before that was actually difficult. And for me, the way I try to let people know is that actually the true meaning of discomfort that we have comes from, the true life-changing opportunities we have come from discomfort. And it started for me, my original story that I know from the beginning of time is that, in the beginning of time, light itself was called out of darkness, right? So meaning that within darkness, right, there was light. Light was lying there. It just had to be called out for, for the creation to get started. Meaning that for every discomfort and problems we have, within there lies the intelligence for that same problem. You need to go in, delve into that and call that out. And that could be you looking at, okay, this is a problem I'm facing. Who else is facing it? What am I trying to do to get that solved? And now you begin to build some skill sets, some strategies on how to get that solved, such that the next person doesn't go through it. So for me, it's just around understanding that in every uncomfortable solution, right in there lies the solution for that discomfort itself.
Yeah, and we live in a world where change seems to happen faster every day. What do you think makes some people thrive while others struggle to keep up?
Yeah, I would, and these are some of the things I wrote in my book specifically. I spoke about because basically the book itself is more around. It's like an ultimate guide, what I call the 12 C's to Uncomfortably Pivot. And part of it, I think the first chapter that I wrote around that was about, I wrote about culture, and that is where you're from, and how that builds some form of tenacity into you. And it could be the region you're from, it could be your family bring up, it could be just, this just the way you guys went through life. It could be that you actually, was born with a silver spoon, but even with that, there was some discipline that built some character into you, right? So for me, it's more around, your culture and the character that was built into you. Now, while others might not have that, maybe they necessarily didn't have that built in them. There's opportunity to learn that on the go, right? There's opportunity where life presents you with its own challenges that you have almost no choice but to build the character. For example, and that's why you see one of the examples I gave around, if you don't necessarily have that inbuilt in you from your origin, there's a way you can build that. It's part of my book. Also, I wrote about the immigrant story as the blueprint for being uncomfortable and succeeding even in the face of discomfort. It's because as immigrants, you leave everything you've known, or everywhere your friend, the way you speak, the food you eat, you leave all of that to a whole new environment. You are forced, like, to to blend into your environment, and that's why a lot of immigrant success stories that we read in America is born out of all of this discomfort that they face moving over to the place, and I try to show and explain that. So in summary, there are times when you're lucky to be born in a place where character of is being built into you, where they say suffering and pain is part of what gets you, into your why. In others, it's situations that will force you into that situation, that will force you into those moments that then builds that character for you going forward.
Yeah, and I think in your book you emphasize like the character, the culture, the community, the
Yes.
change, all of those like together. And do these four pillars work together to help someone successfully pivot in their career or in their life, right?
Yes. Yeah, they work hand in hand. We spoke about, community, about culture, we spoke about character. I think maybe what many people don't take advantage of is the community. I think the more you have the people around you that have also gone through the same thing, the better you're able to go through it better. And what people don't do, however, is that they don't consciously look for those people to help them. They stay back within that pain and that suffering and say, one way or the other is going to work. But you have to, within that pain, look around and say, who's gone through this, that I can build a community around that can help me understand how this would be better for me down the line. So building those kind of communities around you are really key. And for me, I spoke about different kinds of community, whether that be in the workplace. We know a lot about role models and career coaches, but a lot in the workplace, there are people who call sponsors and allies that are able to help you speak about your work at the tables where the decisions are being made so that you can grow and promote, right? I spoke a lot how those are important in career. In personal life, I spoke around, again, the communities of your family, the immediate family. I also spoke about an interesting concept I called confident friends, which are people that you've known forever. You guys have a spiritual core to yourself. And whenever you meet and discuss, it's as if you never lost touch. But you guys are doing very unique things in your different walks of life that are really impacting the world. So all of those communities come together, help you to walk through this pivot successfully.
Yeah, and you also talk about technology and AI,
Mm.
and those are reshaping almost every industry. And how can individuals prepare themselves to stay relevant but without feeling overwhelmed by these like rapid changes?
Exactly. The changes are growing so rapidly. I'll just at work today, and there was something that usually takes us, like 10 days to do, and with generative AI, we get it done in 1 hour. Right? Like that is astronomical. So these changes are fast and things are changing. But what I do say is that as much as that change is coming, there's always that fear to say, "Oh, AI is going to take my job." I strongly disagree. Like I said in my book, I think what would take your job are your colleagues that are using AI to better their jobs. So running away from it is not the solution. It's going towards it and looking for ways you can use those tools to be better at what you do, to be more efficient, more effective, and better. What people don't understand is technology never really, it doesn't necessarily solve a problem. It only makes things better faster. So if there's a problem that is not being solved, it will make that problem, you know, you know, it will make that problem come to life faster. However, if it's a solution of a problem, it will make that solution faster, easier. So I'm saying that technology itself is, take that technology, take artificial intelligence, look at what it is you do on a daily basis, and begin to find ways to incorporate it on a daily basis to make your work better, easier, and faster. And the more you do that, the better you are, the more you set yourself apart from your colleagues. The more you're able to make things, work better for you. The more you're able to actually uncomfortably pivot, depending on what you're trying to do in life. Because now there's proximity to resources. There are tools with AI. You can summarize, a quick learning, a 500-page learning material, get all those basic things you need to be able to push for this new certification you're trying to do. So there's so many ways you can use AI to pivot.
Yeah, and you also mention on your book the resilience as a key skill. How can someone build resilience if they feel like stuck or overwhelmed by constant change?
Yeah, I think um, if we look around ourselves, look around, change will forever be constant. And unfortunately, in today's world, it is so much faster than it used to be before. During the baby boomers and the Gen X's, change was always a thing you see, whether that be in life or career, but it took some time. But now, with the way technology makes everything run so fast, it's almost inevitable. So, the way to build resilience is start from you knowing that yes, there will be change in whatever I'm going to do. So I think that self-realization puts you in a better position to face that change, to be more resilient, and a little, build a long-term tenacity and some doggedness in terms of how you face that. Because if you start from that point of view, saying there will be change coming in my place of work, what I'm doing this year will be different from what I'm going to do next year. Let me begin to prep myself, get in that shape that is right. So that will build the resilience because you know that change is the only constant that is actually now coming in faster than before. So that helps to build that resilience. So it comes from that state of mind saying there will be change. Let me be ready for it. Let me be ready to face it. Let me be looking out for it even before it comes. That way I'm better prepared. And that builds resilience.
Yeah, and what is the biggest challenge you have seen people face when they're trying to pivot, and how can they overcome it?
Yeah, I would say, we spoke about a few. One is just a lot, just about the pain it costs. Like, this is everything you've known. You've already known, the way you go to your most favorite restaurants is this particular path, is this walk. You've known that forever. You get your best meal. And then suddenly this construction company comes, or, the government comes and they want to build a bridge and they have you go a whole different route, right? It's a lot of pain. Now you don't get your food faster. You don't get it you have to walk so many more miles to get there because of things happening around you. However, right, I think so that pain is what actually makes people so much uncomfortable over time and they just settle for pain. But like I've said, even within that pain itself is the intelligence for the solution for that pain. Because once you create that solution, there are other neighbors using my iteration, other neighbors around now that will then use your path to get to the restaurant where you want to get to. So I think people should not look at the pain as what would be an hindrance. It should be that there's something you're being told that there's a problem to be solved here. Just a quick expert, one of the things I wrote all across my chapters is what I call misconceptions. I try to take out misconceptions that people have known over time. And one of those misconceptions I said was, progress over perfection. As humans, we are always trying to be perfect at everything we do. But if you look at it, the way we are built as humans, we were never meant to be perfect, right? Because the human mind is always something that's always wanting to be better, wanting to get better at things. Because if you're perfect, then that's death, right? There's nothing else to be done. You're perfect in everything you've done. There's no growth. No. So that's and in our everyday work, the way we relate to people, let's progress instead of seeking perfection. Progression means you're looking for ways to be a better friend. If you made a mistake, you're able to realize that mistake, you don't make it again. And then the next one, you're able to grow onto the next place, right? If it's at work, you are not necessarily getting the work perfectly well, but the mistake you made when you sent the deliverable last time, you didn't make it this time, you are getting better at it. Progress over perfection. A few other misconceptions, I spoke about on the book, 12 of them, but you have to buy the book to go.
Yeah, and how has writing this book
Yeah.
changed your own perspective on change and adaptability?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so again, I work as a consultant, I travel, I'm so busy. So it took almost 2 years to be able to put all this together. And for me, it was, in fact, even those 2 years, I had to squeeze it in because I was really passionate about the topic. And for me, I thought it was a topic whose time has come with everything happening with technology and AI. So I had to change a little bit of the way I also create time. I had to force that time in, so I had to change my schedule. Now, because of that change, like I told you, whenever there's something that forces you to make things, you shouldn't shy away from it. Now, because of that change, I've actually found ways to sort of manage my time better as a very busy, consulting executive. And I'm able to find ways to, okay, now carve some time out, even if it's for family, because of the time I used to create that book, carve some time out to write the next book, carve time out to impact my mentees and prodigies across board. So it was I had to change my schedule. So even within the business and now within the busyness of my everyday work, I now find ways to carve out the right time to be able to do all these other things that I love.
Yeah, it's like adapt, right? It's like we live in a fast world and we have to change, all of us, and I think that's something important. And sometimes it's the fear, sometimes it's the uncertainty, but we have to, and like the final questions, where can listeners find more about you, about your book, and
Yeah.
connect with your work?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, yeah, my book, Uncomfortably Pivot, is on Amazon and it's on Barnes and Nobles as well. Paperback, hardcover, e copies as well. Yes, and then I have a lot of speaking engagement around this topic and other things. For me, I know beyond my work as a global consultant, I just think I have the passion for the next generation of workforce coming into the workforce to help them understand the changes that is to come, how they can use the best technology to be able to drive change at work, and how to build that, personal brands and individual peak performances. So I have a website as well for the book, www.uncomfortablypivot.com. You can reach me there. Let's build that community of resilience, of dogged change makers across board.
Okay, thank you, Saki. It has been a pleasure having you on Authors Radio.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving us a glimpse into your work and sharing your passion. And listeners, be sure to check his book. And thank you for tuning in to Authors Radio, amplifying voices inspiring the world. Join me next time for another inspiring conversation. In the meantime, happy listening.